In a shocking and unexpected move that echoes the fiery defiance of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President Bola Tinubu has unleashed a bombshell on West African leaders demanding an immediate end to the colonial relic of exporting raw minerals without processing. With a fierce call for regional manufacturing and value addition, Tinubu's stunning reversal has left Africans in shock, mouths agape as they grapple with this seismic shift. Why would Tinubu, a leader long intertwined with Western interests, dare to make such a dramatic U-turn? Burkina Faso's unstoppable leader Captain Ibrahim Traoré revolution is spreading like wildfire, shaking the foundations of neo-colonial dominance and forcing even the most entrenched African leaders to rethink their allegiances. In a stunning turn of events, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, once a vocal critic of military leaders like Traoré, has made a dramatic U-turn, echoing the very principles Traoré has championed. This seismic shift, announced at the inaugural West Africa Economic Summit in Abuja on Saturday, October 11, 2025, signals a new dawn for the region, but it also raises critical questions about why Tinubu has changed his tune and what this means for West Africa's future. For decades, West Africa has bled under the weight of exploitation, its vast mineral wealth siphoned off by Western corporations while its people languished in poverty. Gold, uranium, oil and rare earth minerals, resources that could have transformed the region into an economic powerhouse, have instead enriched foreign capitals, leaving African nations with crumbs. Corrupt leaders, often propped up by Western powers, have facilitated this plunder, turning a blind eye to the suffering of their people. But the rise of revolutionary military leaders in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger has shattered this status quo, delivering a wake-up call to the region's elites. Traoré, alongside Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta and Niger's General Abdourahmane Chiani, has shown that Africa can reclaim its destiny by taking bold, uncompromising steps to control its resources. Their successes have not only embarrassed leaders like Tinubu, but have also ignited a groundswell of popular support across the continent, forcing even the most reluctant to confront the truth. The era of pit to port must end. At the West Africa Economic Summit, President Tinubu's speech was nothing short of revolutionary, at least in tone. The era of pit to port must end, he declared, his voice ringing with an urgency that caught many by surprise. We must turn our mineral wealth into domestic economic value, jobs, technology and manufacturing. Calling for an end to the export of raw minerals without processing, Tinubu urged West African leaders to invest in regional manufacturing and value addition, warning that the region could not afford to miss the next industrial revolution. West Africa is one of the last great frontiers of economic growth, he said. Yet opportunity alone does not guarantee transformation. We must earn it through vision, integration, policy coherence, collaboration, and capital alignment. These words could have been lifted directly from one of Captain Traoré's fiery speeches. For years, Tinubu and other ECOWAS leaders have criticized the military juntas in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, accusing them of undermining democracy and destabilizing the region. Yet, Tinubu's sudden embrace of Traoré's principles, nationalizing resources, prioritizing local processing, and fostering regional cooperation, suggests a profound shift. What has changed? The answer lies in the undeniable success of Traoré's revolution and the mounting pressure from African citizens who have grown weary of leaders who prioritize Western interests over their own people. Since taking power in a September 2022 coup, Traoré has transformed Burkina Faso from a nation crippled by terrorism and poverty into a beacon of hope for the continent. His bold moves to nationalize gold mines, build infrastructure, and invest in agriculture and healthcare have yielded tangible results, earning him the adoration of millions across Africa and the diaspora. Social media platforms like X are awash with praise for Traoré, with users from Nigeria, Ghana, and beyond hailing him as Africa's Che Guevara and a symbol of resistance against neo-colonialism. Posts on X, such as one from African Hub on June 26 to 2025, claim that Burkina Faso has generated over $18 billion from gold mining since Traoré's ascent, a testament to the power of resource sovereignty. This groundswell of support has not gone unnoticed by leaders like Tinubu, who face growing criticism for their failure to deliver similar results. Nigerians in particular have been vocal in their disillusionment with Tinubu's administration. Economic hardship, rising inflation, and the government's perceived subservience to Western institutions like the IMF and World Bank have fueled protests and online campaigns demanding change. Hashtags like #Tinubu must act and #Follow Traoré have trended on X, with users pointing to Burkina Faso's progress as a model for Nigeria. "Why can't Tinubu be like Traoré?" one Nigerian user posted. "Burkina Faso is building roads, feeding its people, and kicking out the West. What is Nigeria doing?" This public outcry, combined with the visible successes of Traoré, Goïta and Chiani, has left Tinubu with little choice but to adapt, or risk losing legitimacy. At the heart of Traoré's revolution is his relentless drive to reclaim Burkina Faso's mineral wealth. Gold, which accounts for over 80% of the country's exports, has long been controlled by Western corporations, with firms like Australia's Sarama Resources and London-listed Endeavour Mining reaping billions, while Burkinabe citizens saw little benefit. Since taking power, Traoré has nationalised 5 major gold mines, including 2 previously owned by Endeavour Mining, paying just $80 million for assets valued at $300 million in 2023. In November 2023, he laid the foundation for Burkina Faso's first national gold refinery, capable of processing 150 tons annually, ensuring that the country retains the full value of its mineral wealth. The results have been staggering. According to government reports and posts on X, Burkina Faso has generated billions in revenue from its nationalised mines, with estimates ranging from $6 billion to $18 billion since 2022. Traoré has funneled these funds into transformative projects, prioritising security, infrastructure, agriculture and healthcare, sectors that were woefully neglected under previous regimes. His philosophy is clear: without security, there can be no progress. Without infrastructure, there can be no development. Without food sovereignty, there can be no dignity. When Traoré seized power, Burkina Faso was on the brink of collapse, with jihadist insurgents controlling nearly 40% of the country. Western-backed counter-terrorism efforts, led by France's Operation Barkhane, had failed miserably, leaving Burkinabe soldiers under-equipped and demoralised. Traoré wasted no time in addressing this crisis. He expelled French forces in February 2023, accusing them of exploiting Burkina Faso under the guise of security. In their place, he forged partnerships with Russia and Turkey, securing drones, weapons, and training for the Burkinabe army. He also recruited 90,000 volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland (VDP), civilian militias who work alongside the military to combat terrorism. The impact has been undeniable. While challenges remain, military spending has doubled, and the army has reclaimed key territories from insurgents. In June 2024, a devastating attack on a military base in Mansilla claimed over 100 lives, but Traoré's government responded swiftly, deploying drones and reinforcing defences. Today, the army is better equipped than ever, with soldiers receiving modern gear and higher morale. "Before Traoré, we fought with outdated rifles and no air support," said Lieutenant Moussa Diallo, a Burkinabe soldier. "Now we have drones, armoured vehicles, and the will to win. The captain has given us pride." Burkina Faso's infrastructure was another casualty of decades of neglect. Rural communities were cut off from markets, schools, and hospitals due to impassable roads. Traoré, recognising that connectivity is the backbone of development, launched an ambitious road-building programme. Since 2022, Burkina Faso has constructed between 3,000 and 5,000 kilometres of roads annually, with plans to establish road construction brigades in every region by the end of 2025. The government has purchased state-of-the-art equipment and employed thousands of Burkinabe workers, creating jobs and boosting local economies. One beneficiary of this initiative is Amadou Sawadogo, a 45-year-old farmer from the village of Koudougou. For years, Amadou struggled to transport his millet and sorghum to market, losing much of his harvest to spoilage. "The roads were so bad it took days to reach Ouagadougou," he recalled. "Sometimes I couldn't sell anything because the truck got stuck in the mud." In 2023, a new paved road connected Koudougou to the capital, reducing travel time to just a few hours. "Now, I sell my crops easily. and I can afford to send my children to school," Amadou said, his eyes gleaming with pride. "Captain Traoré has brought us hope." Food sovereignty is a cornerstone of Traoré's vision. Burkina Faso, like much of West Africa, has long relied on imported food, a legacy of colonial policies that prioritize cash crops over local production. Traoré has reversed this trend by investing heavily in agriculture. The government has distributed tractors, plows and fertilizers to farmers, established the National Support Center for Artisanal Cotton Processing, and launched irrigation projects to boost crop yields. In a bold move, Traoré banned the export of raw tomatoes, declaring that all produce must be processed locally to create jobs and retain value. The results are transformative. Burkina Faso's food production has increased significantly, with the country achieving near self-sufficiency in staples like millet, sorghum and maize. To further bolster food security, Traoré has put prisoners to work on farms, developing over 200 hectares at the Baparo Agricultural Penitentiary Center. The government has also provided free land to agricultural students for research and cultivation, fostering innovation and empowering the next generation. Fatima Zongo, a 32-year-old farmer from Bobo Dioulasso, is one of countless Burkinabe who have benefited from these reforms. "Before Traoré, farming was a struggle," she said. "We had no equipment, no seeds, no market. Now the government gave me a tractor and training. My maize yield has tripled, and I can feed my family and sell the surplus." Fatima's story is a testament to Traoré's commitment to uplifting the poorest segments of society, ensuring that no one is left behind. Burkina Faso's healthcare system was in shambles when Traoré took power, with hospitals lacking basic equipment and patients facing exorbitant bills. Determined to make healthcare accessible to all, Traoré has used gold revenues to purchase modern medical equipment, including MRI machines, dialysis units and ventilators. He has also reduced hospital bills by up to 50%, making treatment affordable for the poor. New clinics have been built in rural areas, and mobile health units bring care to remote communities. Assata Ouedraogo, a 28-year-old mother from Ouahigouya, owes her life to these reforms. In 2023, Assata was diagnosed with severe anemia during pregnancy, a condition that would have been fatal without treatment. "The hospital in my village had no equipment before," she said. "I would have had to travel to Ouagadougou, but I couldn't afford it. Thanks to a new clinic funded by Traoré's government, Assata received free treatment and delivered a healthy baby girl. I named her Ibrahimata, after the captain," she said, smiling. "He saved us both." Burkina Faso's success has inspired its neighbors Mali and Niger to follow a similar path. In Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, who seized power in a 2020 coup, has nationalized key gold mines, which account for nearly 80% of the country's export revenue. Mali, Africa's third-largest gold producer, signed a memorandum with Russia in 2023 to build a refinery capable of processing 200 tons annually, ensuring that the country benefits from value-added production. The government has also invested in agriculture, launching irrigation projects and distributing seeds to farmers, boosting food production and reducing reliance on imports. Niger, under General Abdourahmane Tiani, has taken equally bold steps. The country, one of the world's largest producers of uranium, nationalized its uranium mines in 2023, ending decades of French dominance through companies like Orano. Niger has also secured partnerships with China and Russia to develop its oil and gas sector, with plans to build a refinery and expand energy infrastructure. These moves have generated significant revenue, which Tiani has used to improve education, healthcare and security. In 2024, Niger launched a 100 million program to build 1,000 new schools, ensuring that every child has access to education. The Alliance of Sahel States, AES, formed by Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger in September 2023, has solidified their commitment to resource sovereignty and regional cooperation. The AES has introduced a common passport, established a 5,000-strong joint military force to combat terrorism, and is exploring a shared currency to replace the CFA franc, a relic of French colonialism. These initiatives have strengthened the Sahel's resilience, proving that African nations can thrive without Western interference. The successes of Traoré, Goïta and Tiani have sent shockwaves through West Africa. exposing the complicity of many leaders in perpetuating neo-colonial exploitation. For decades, West African countries have exported raw minerals, gold, bauxite, uranium, oil, while importing finished goods at exorbitant prices. The CFA franc, controlled by France, has kept 14 African nations economically dependent, with Paris holding a veto over their monetary policies. Corrupt leaders, often installed or supported by Western powers, have facilitated this plunder, amassing personal fortunes while their people starved. Traoré has not minced words in calling out these leaders. In a historic speech at the first AES summit in July 2024, he denounced the pretense of independence granted to African states in the 1960s, accusing regional elites of serving as puppets for foreign interests. His fiery rhetoric, coupled with his tangible achievements, has embarrassed leaders like Tinubu, who have struggled to justify their inaction. At Ghana's presidential inauguration in January 2025, Traoré received the loudest applause among 21 African heads of state, a clear sign of his growing influence. Even in Anglophone countries like Nigeria and Ghana, citizens are rallying behind Traoré, with ex-users praising his anti-imperialist stance and demanding that their leaders follow suit. This public pressure has clearly rattled Tinubu. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, is endowed with vast resources, oil, gas, tin, coltan, but remains plagued by poverty and unemployment. The country's reliance on raw exports and Western loans has fueled economic instability, with the naira losing over 70% of its value since Tinubu took office in 2023. Nigerians, inspired by Traoré's example, have taken to the streets and social media to demand resource nationalization and local processing. If Burkina Faso can build refineries and roads, why can't Nigeria? Asked Chidi Okonkwo, a Lagos-based activist. Tinubu must stop talking and start acting like Traoré. Tinubu's call for regional manufacturing and value addition is a step in the right direction, but it remains to be seen whether he will follow through. West Africa's potential is immense. The region holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves, including gold, uranium, and rare earths critical for green technologies. By investing in local processing, countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal could create millions of jobs, reduce import dependency, and boost intra-regional trade, which currently accounts for less than 10% of total trade. A unified West Africa, free from Western domination, could rival global economic powers. However, the region's progress is hindered by pervasive corruption and deep ties to the West. Leaders like Ivory Coast's Alassane Ouattara and Senegal's former President Macky Sall have maintained close relationships with France, prioritizing foreign interests over their own people. The CFA franc, military bases, and trade agreements like the EU's Economic Partnership Agreements, EPAs, continue to bind West African economies to Europe, stifling development. Even Tinubu, despite his recent rhetoric, has faced criticism for aligning with Western institutions, with Nigeria securing a $2.2 billion IMF loan in 2024 under stringent conditions. Traoré's revolution offers a blueprint for breaking these chains. By nationalizing resources, rejecting Western loans, and forging partnerships with countries like Russia, China, and Turkey, Burkina Faso has demonstrated that Africa can chart its own path. If other West African leaders emulate Traoré's model, the region could undergo a renaissance, with factories humming, roads bustling, and hospitals thriving. A united West Africa, anchored in Pan-Africanism, would not only develop but become a global force, forcing the West to come begging rather than dictating. Africa lacks nothing. It is a continent of boundless wealth. Gold, oil, uranium, cobalt, lithium, fertile land, and a youthful population of 1.4 billion. Yet for centuries its potential has been stifled by external plunder and internal betrayal. Traoré's revolution is a clarion call to end this cycle. His success, alongside that of Goïta and Chiani, proves that African leaders who prioritize their people can transform their nations. From Burkina Faso's gold refineries to Mali's agricultural boom and Niger's uranium renaissance, the Sahel is showing the world what Africa can achieve when it stands upright. The question now is whether leaders like Tinubu will rise to the occasion or cling to the comforts of neo-colonialism. For too long, West Africa's leaders have slept while their people suffered. Traoré's revolution has given them sleepless nights, forcing them to confront their failures. The people are watching, and they are no longer silent. From the streets of Lagos to the markets of Accra, Africans are demanding leaders who embody Traoré's courage, vision and patriotism. If West Africa heeds this call, it will not only develop but become unstoppable, a continent that commands respect, not pity. As Captain Traoré himself declared in a 2024 speech, "We are not going to tremble, we are going to face up to it." His words echo across the Sahel and beyond, a rallying cry for a new Africa. The revolution has begun, and it will not be stopped. West Africa's leaders must choose: stand with the people or be swept away by the tide of history.